Hey everyone, Charlie Vann here. Excited for this new season of the Charlie Vann Here podcast and can't wait to speak to my, first guest of the season, actor, producer, musician, Thomas Nicholas. You may know him from Rookie of the Year and the American Pie franchise. All right, without further ado, here is my interview with Thomas Nicholas. All right, Charlie Vann here with Thomas Nicholas. Thomas, first important question, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm just, sort of starting the day. Kids have been fed their breakfast. I've had at least 2 cups of coffee, so the day is looking up.
You've had your daily fuel. Are you a coffee guy?
Oh, yes.
What do you like? Mild, dark roast? Are you like a coffee connoisseur?
I let's see if you can identify, dark roast, medium's okay. Double espresso or double shot Americano. I have about 7 of those a day.
That is good. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man. That's fuel. So I get it.
Doctors might disagree.
Hey, you know what? Whatever makes you happy, right?
No doubt.
Whatever keeps you pushing. Are you a French press guy though at all? Do you ever do that? Like make it from scratch?
No, I mean, I have a super automatic espresso machine, so I just put the whole beans in, grind it up, double shot, let's go.
I just feel like the French press, that's a lot of work. Like I feel like I'm working out when I'm doing that. I'm like, no, I just want to just hit that button. I gotta go.
Yeah, I don't have time to wait 10 minutes for it to steep.
Yeah. You're like, am I a Starbucks here? Like, what am I?
Steeping, that's for tea.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm excited. You're coming to Dallas, coming to my neck of the woods. You're on tour. How's the tour been going so far? Like, how's everything been going?
It's been really awesome. I actually just played this sold out show with Emo Night Brooklyn in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Bowl just this last weekend, which was awesome. We just came and performed Teenage Dirtbag live, and I of course sang Stifler's Mom and my new song 1999, which is of course Dallas and Texas loved Bowling for Soup's song,
definitely
1985 revisited, as you know. So yeah, the tour has been great. I'm actually doing another Emo Night Brooklyn in Dallas this Friday at the Echo Lounge.
Okay, awesome.
So I might be doing a revisiting. I'll be playing those songs again.
Hey, we enjoy our emo music here in Dallas. There's a good scene, and you're coming to Deep Ellum, which Deep Ellum's kind of like, it's like our 6th Street, and I think you'll really enjoy Three Links. What do you like in a venue when you're going to a venue and you're playing? What stands out the most to you? What is most important?
I really like. I mean, I'm looking forward to Three Links on Thursday with the other Jarrett, not Jarrett Reddick from Bowling for Soup, but Jarrett Adloff with 2 R's and 2 T's, who his band is going to be opening up for me and then also backing me up for a full band set. And I think that Three Links kind of has what I look for in a venue. I like my venues a little bit smaller and intimate because I feel like I can connect with people a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever was at the Brooklyn Bowl was fun, but I never saw the reaction of the people in the back. So if I can see everyone in the room, that's cool. I like my bars a little bit dirty and gritty.
Oh yeah, character.
Yeah, and I like my crowd to be drinking, because the more they do that, the better I sound.
What's the wildest crowd you've performed in from so far? I know you've had many. You said 800 shows, but is there one? I know you said you like your crowd with a drunk crowd having fun, but is there like a wild moment that still sticks with you?
Man, there's a lot of shows that, I mean, I have a semi-photographic memory, so I can recall a lot of shows. I'm trying to think of like a wild crowd though. I mean, I've never necessarily, I don't know that there's been like a particular wild crowd. I think there's been a couple of moments, especially in the UK or Germany, where I've had nights where like they just, the show was packed out in a small venue and they just didn't want it to end. And we just kept playing and playing and playing until like finally like the venue's, like shutting down and then we got to stop. And so those have been kind of the wild nights. One of the venues I don't think is around anymore. I think it shut down. It was in Rugby in the UK. Ironically, a town named Rugby. And then I think the venue was called The Vault. And we had a few wild nights there. And then the other one was in one of my favorite small cities in Germany called Lauenau, which only has a population of 4,000 people, and 10% of the people showed up at the show. Oh, wow. And it was like actually overflowing. Like they didn't have enough room for everyone. So they had to open up a balcony, and it was just a wild night. Then there's been other times where it's been the opposite of wild, but still a memorable show. Like I played this one show in Germany where I remember there was only 4 people, and the promoter was really angry because he had done like all this promotion for the show, and obviously it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so right before the show, he says, "Well, do you want to cancel?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "Well, you only sold 4 tickets." And I go, "Okay." And he goes, "So there's only 4 people here." I said, "Those are the 4 people that bought the tickets?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, then we're going to give them a show." And then he kind of like looked at me different, like, because I was willing to do that. So the crazy part about this story is, and I love telling this one, it's the total never give up story. So I go and play the show. At the end of the night, I just gather like all 4 people to the front table. I bring my guitar, my acoustic guitar, from the stage to the table. I knew that like everyone loves Springsteen in Germany, so I play a Springsteen song unplugged. Turns out one of the guys ended up having such a great night that he wanted to be an investor of the venue. The reason the venue owner was so mad is because he was about to go out of business. So literally this guy invests in the venue that night and saves the business because they didn't cancel the show.
That's a pretty awesome story right there.
Obviously, I had no idea. It's not like I did it so that like, oh, that guy in the back looks rich. I knew none of this. So I find out at the end, and then all of a sudden the guy's like giving me gifts. Like he grew his own coffee where he had like coffee plants, which I didn't even know until that night. This is 10 years ago, that they're berries. And then they take the seed out and they, bake the seed. But he had made his own coffee and had the coffee plants with growing the berries. And he like gave me a bag of it. I was like, "Let me pay." He's like, no. It's, it just like started giving me all these gifts. He was so happy.
Oh, that is, and sounds like a kind of cool, like movie plot too. Fan comes in, saves the day, saves the venue. Speaking of venues, and by the way, congrats again, 30 years Rookie of the Year. And talking about your character, Henry Rowan Gardner, he got to play at probably one of the most iconic sports venues of all time. Is there an iconic venue as a musician that you would love to perform that you haven't had a chance yet?
Well, the Stone Pony. That's because obviously I've done the Viper Room. I've been playing there for, over 10 years, and I love that venue. I know there's a lot of talk about, whether or not it's going to survive some of the development that's happening on Sunset, which I certainly hope that it does.
I would hate for that to go. I mean, it's such a classic.
It can't go, man. It's got
even though they only got the one bathroom. I saw some glamour cover band there a couple of years ago.
There's 2 bathrooms.
There is. I guess that night there was just one bathroom.
Right. Sometimes the other one does get shut down. Yes, and then there's just one.
Yeah,
but it's only a 175 cap, room upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah.
So it's pretty small. One bathroom's all right.
Hey, it's worth it. It's worth the experience. So the Stone Pony.
Stone Pony, because it's in my other aspiration. I already talked about Springsteen when I was telling the Germany story. I would love to play Springsteen in a biopic one day, and I actually told Bruce this in 2006 when he played Dodger Stadium. I snuck backstage, and I told him that with his blessing, I wanted to portray him in a movie one day, and he put his arm around me, looked at his manager. He goes, "What do you think? You think we look alike?" And his manager was speechless. So Bruce didn't say no, which in my mind is like saying yes.
Yeah.
So that,
that's, you have the resume of playing biopics, Frank Sinatra Jr., Walt Disney. I mean, you're already there. So
yeah.
What do you, and that's my next question. What do you enjoy the most about, obviously, you've played fictional characters, but biopic, what do you enjoy the most? What's the most challenging? And was there ever a time, like, if you could sit down with either of those characters you play, what would you ask them that you would like to know further about them?
The fun thing about playing a character or a real person, portraying a real person, is that unlike creating a person where you write their backstory and you can sort of mold whatever history they have to serve the story. Playing a real person is all about the research. So we know these people because obviously, you know, everyone knows who Frank Sinatra Jr. is. They know who Walt Disney is. They know, you know, some people probably know who Abby Hoffman is or Martin Scorsese, you know, like, so, but then when you start researching them, you really start this alternate discovery process of really learning so much more about the beginnings, because a lot of these stories are always more of the beginning than, you know, what we know now. And so like having read some of the, because I'm already such a big fan, already done some of that research for Springsteen, the Asbury Park days and like, you know, the Stone Pony days, and when he was sleeping in the surf shop in the bathroom because it was the place that smelled like the least amount of resin, and you know, he was playing all 3 levels of the venue, and they would just be hanging out on the beach, and the venue owners would be like, all right, you tonight, get a band, and they'd like race to get a band together that day. And Bruce would headline all 3 levels, the acoustic stage, the cover band on the lower level, and the original full band on the middle. Like, that's how he got the nickname The Boss, at least according to this biography. Which, you know, I mean, I have to believe the biography.
Yeah. And that's got to be the title of the biopic, The Boss.
Which, you know, and then also him like walking around with his first contract in his back pocket for 2 weeks, and then signing it finally on like the hood of a car, you know, in the parking lot of the Pony. You know what I mean? Like, all that stuff is just like, that's the story to me. And even the beginnings of like, you know, his mom buying him his first guitar and his dad not supporting that, and him learning solos by listening to the radio. But yeah, I'm getting into the weeds now. My favorite part is discovery of the beginnings of the people that we know and love now.
Well, you've sold me. I think you definitely can pull off the role, and maybe we can petition that here on the podcast. Put Thomas Nagel. Hey, you know, you've already had a kind of conversation with him. Let's get that ball rolling. I mean, I think
he's got to be getting close to the biopic stage, because he did the on Broadway show and like telling stories, and that's a little bit like he's leading toward that. Biopics in the near future.
Is there any biopic, like especially music wise, that you would love to see? Obviously outside of playing him, but just as a fan of music and of film, is there a biopic we haven't seen that you think needs to be on the screen, or you would love to hear that story?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really, as a music fan, I really enjoy watching like the documentaries on the actual band. You know, as an actor, you know, selfishly, I love like biopics, and there's obviously been some great ones. Yeah. But I do really enjoy the documentaries, and I think it'd be great to like have like a documentary pick on like John Mayer or Switchfoot. You know, some of these acts that, you know, have been my favorite since their inception, that are still like out there just doing it, have never stopped. And we don't have that biopic yet. Like, I mean, but again, how many years was it before Tom Petty had his documentary? I mean, that came out only 10 years ago.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like, it took that long.
40 years.
I, as a Texan, I would love to see, I don't know if it'll happen, but Stevie Ray Vaughan. I would love to see a Stevie Ray Vaughan biopic. I mean, such a iconic, you know, guitarist, left us, you know, too soon, but had so much to say, and that voice, oh man, and the way he played. I mean,
the most interesting thing to me about Ray Vaughan is his ability to improvise and incorporate his mistakes afterwards. So like, basically, I'm a big fan of like mistakes and imperfections make things so unique, because anyone can go up and, you know, play the recording live the same way it sounds and do it flawlessly, and you're like, but then you're just getting the same thing. It's the imperfections that make it like a memorable experience. Yeah. And so his ability to like mess up and then be like, nope, I meant that, and then we're just gonna throw that bad note in there like 5 more times until, you know, you forget that it even was a mistake. That was always incredible to me about his lead guitar playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such masterful, and I mean, I wish I would have got to been alive there or young. I think I was probably a young kid when he had passed, but I just think, what he was able to do, what we could have seen from him moving forward, and just, so sad that, died at a younger age. But I would love to see that story, just because I think there's a lot there to be told.
Yeah, well, it's crazy how long it takes for that kind of recognition. I mean, what is it? I mean, even Journey started in the 70s and didn't get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame till 2017.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Like, if they were UFC fighters and they retire tomorrow, they're in it next year. That's how it is.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some prerequisites there.
It's like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the NFL Hall of Fame have like the same, same procedure. I mean, they are, I guess, one's Canton, both are Canton, Cleveland, Ohio, something. So it just seems like it's forever.
I have been to the Football Hall of Fame, though. I got to go into like the private section and like see some of the original books, like where they had to like white glove them in Canton. That was pretty awesome. And I'm going to be in Cooperstown and finally get to see the Baseball Hall of Fame in August.
Nice. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That has to be good. And you have some of that baseball film history right there. Do you feel kind of partial to the sport? I mean, just being a part of that film and just how iconic it is. I mean, when I think back, I wanted to be Henry when I was a kid, pitching for the Rangers, although I could never replace Nolan Ryan back then. But I think every kid back then was like, to have that chance to play for an iconic team.
It's funny too, because so I'm coming out obviously to Dallas, and I'm going to be throwing out the first pitch.
Yeah, Rough Riders.
The Frisco Rough Riders on Sunday, August 7th. And then there's a couple other like meet and greet events at Pastime Comics in Watauga, and then Dallas Vintage Toys. But yeah, it's funny because my son is named Nolan River.
Oh, nice.
And people are like, wait, Nolan Ryan? I'm like, no, Nolan River. I didn't do it on purpose. But it is funny how like people think of Nolan Ryan when they hear Nolan River.
Yeah, it is pretty close. It is good. Hey, you never know. Maybe a future baseball player right there. Or is he get into me? Is he picking up on music?
Well, he's been playing piano since he's about 3. He's 10 now, but he's kind of following in my footsteps in acting. He starred in the latest M. Night Shyamalan movie, Old. Okay. Which, speaking of sports, I think they played the trailer for that at the Super Bowl last year. So it came out in theaters last year, but Super Bowl 2021, 100 million people, first commercial break. My son's, in the water with the body floating up behind him.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I'm petitioning for Nolan to play Henry's son in a long-awaited Rookie of the Year sequel. So we'll see if I can make it happen. I got like 2 more years till he's 12, so I got 2 years to make it happen.
Are there talks about doing the sequel? Or
from me?
Yeah. Hey, we would love to see it. I was just thinking that. Where is Henry today? Like, that would be cool to kind of see that next progression.
That's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I just want to play Henry. I need a writer to come in and make that happen. Although I had thought, it'd be funny to do like the reverse where, you basically, I mean, obviously Henry's mom could still be there, but remember she had Jack. Mm-hmm. So my idea was like Henry would, because remember Becky Fraker, Cologne Jacobson, who was also the goalie in Mighty Ducks. So let's say that they're split and, he's got like some girlfriend his son, gets the ability to throw fast. And he's like, listen, just enjoy your childhood. Don't tell anybody about this. No big deal. But then, you got the Jack Bradfield girlfriend who like gets him signed to the Cubs. And then I was thinking, I'm trying to figure it out. And I don't know how to like research this. Maybe you could tell me what position in baseball could a player in the major league, or could a person who's a position actually take the field if you were like short of players? Could the manager, could the assistant manager, could a pitching coach, could a first base coach, who could actually then, like, let's say that like guys just didn't show up at work and then it forced Henry. So the idea is whatever player that is, that Henry's son could be pitching, and then Henry could be out in the outfield and they could be on the same team at the same time.
It would have to be a base coach, I would think. It would have to, yeah. Although it'd be cool to see a manager like, hold back, let me.
I mean, we already That's the thing though, is that we already get like told that we broke so many rules,
Yeah.
during the first one.
Well, speaking about your son getting into acting and, you were a child actor, what is your biggest advice to him?
The main thing for him is I mainly got him into acting classes when he was younger, because I feel like, similar to playing a musical instrument, acting is using yourself as an instrument, but we all technically act in our lives, whether it's at work or with our friends. We always kind of take on, different realms. But when we're younger, one of the things that I utilized was the ability to communicate and socialize. I kind of brought those acting techniques, because as you're discovering yourself, it can be a little confusing. And so I kind of put him in acting class to help him with the social aspects of his life in school and navigating that portion of things. And then he just actually was really good at it. So my whole thing has always been to focus on the craft and the technique of acting. The results of, success or accolades is the byproduct of doing your job well, but it's more about what you have to say than than the pat on the back. So that's always just been my focus, is to, for him to focus on, the job and the character and the story.
And did you find music first, or was it acting first, or was it kind of a little bit of both as a kid?
As a kid, like, I started acting when I was 6, and I started playing music when I was about 14.
Okay.
So it was acting first.
What was your first show? What was your first concert that you went and saw?
Oh, first, as an attendant, as it was The Offspring at the Whiskey A Go Go in 1995. Awesome. K-Rock, the radio station, was holding a concert there. So I still have my concert tickets signed, my T-shirt signed. I got so into The Offspring after that I actually did my hair like Dexter Holland.
That is
like
awesome.
The braids and the extensions. I didn't dye it blonde because my hair's pretty dark. But yeah, I was pretty hardcore into The Offspring.
Hey, great band. The one band I have yet to see, and I hope to.
Well, I've only seen them like way back then when they were doing like, Smash, before they kind of switched to more like pop, like Pretty Fly for White. Like I wasn't into the newer stuff. I'm still not. I'm like kind of tried and true when it was like Offspring versus Pennywise. I was an Offspring guy, so I was listening to like Ignition and I like back cataloged them at that point.
And just real quick, you're playing once again at 3 Links this Thursday, this Friday as the Echo Lounge, correct?
Yeah.
Echo Lounge. And then you're going to be at Dallas Vintage Toys this weekend.
Yeah, I got Pastime Comics at noon on Saturday in Watauga, if I'm saying that right. Watauga.
Oh, Watauga. Yeah.
Watauga. There you go. I knew. You looked at me like.
Yeah. I was. Well, it's right out there in Arlington, kind of over, not far from Rangers.
Yeah, and then Sunday I'll be at Dallas Vintage Toys from 11 to 3, and then Sunday night I'm throwing out the first pitch for the Frisco Rough Riders.
I think you'll love that stadium there. Have you been there before?
No, I haven't been there yet.
It's nice. It's really, really chill, up close and personal. Frisco area is just booming so fast. I think Shaquille O'Neal just moved out here, actually, to Frisco.
Maybe I can live in one of his shoes.
Or you can at least get a laptop from him. I know he's at Best Buy. I need a new laptop. So just run into him. Well, Thomas, I want to thank you for your time. I definitely appreciate it. We definitely can't wait to have you here in Dallas. And also real quick, just what would you like to say to your fans out there?
Thank you for, enjoying what I do. I love doing what I do. So you keep watching, I keep doing.
All right, Thomas. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I want to thank Thomas Nicholas again for joining us here on the podcast. And if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button. Also can find the podcast on Spotify and Apple Music as well. As always, thank you for your support.